Cool team. So, welcome to InfosecTrain. This is Krish, and I'll be the speaker for this session. Okay. And just a background of my profile team. I'm currently an enterprise cloud architect and cloud consultant who basically specialized on cloud security posture management, cloud auditing, cloud governance, and strategic design of cloud solutions. And I am do trainings as well. So I'm training currently for courses like CCSP, CCAK, Azure Security, Cloud, AWS Security, and other pen testing courses. Now, so this session is intended for people who basically has done their preparation for CCSP and just want to have a practice of the questions. So team, the CCSP examination has undergone a major change on this August 2022, last August. And after that, many people are asking about the latest exam patterns and the way they are asking questions. So there are some suggestions I just want to discuss with you, okay, before we go to the questions. So, so team, when you go for a CCSP, okay, it's like there are some key things which we have to understand. This exam is testing your concepts. Like for example, when you go for other examinations, I have seen like AWS or maybe Azure or something like that. Mostly like you must be able to practice some real exam questions and just go through some runarounds and you'll be able to pass the exam. That's what I felt. But at the same time, if you want to pass the CCSP examination, it needs a intense level of preparation. It's not like you simply have to go through what we can say, just some textbooks or some question banks and review it and you'll be able to pass the exam. It's not the way it is. Okay, so if you want to pass the CCSP examination team, this is the most important thing. You must be good in the concepts. Okay, in the sense means, like for example, more than memorizing the topics or biasing to a cloud service provider, you must be aware of the each and every concepts which is mentioned in this particular exam guide. Actually, it's available free of cost in the in the ICSQ website. And basically what happens team, if you go for it, they will tell you what all key topics you have to review or what all key topics you have to go through. Okay, that is the first thing. And when you practice the questions, what is the benefit we are getting? Once you practice the questions, you can basically make a thought process on how to prepare for the exam or what do you expect in the examination. Okay, that's it. So like after this August 2022 and after this exam, new exam is announced, I have a lot of people who sat for the exam, and based on their feedback, I have not seen there is a lot of changes in the examination topics and all, because many people is confused about a lot of new terms they have introduced in the new curriculum. But again, why I felt that it's it's very similar to the previous exam. So exam pattern, I only see some few changes. But again, what I'm saying is that team, the reason why this exam is going to be tough for most people is that they have not gone through the concepts clearly. That's a one reason for that team. The second thing is that now there is a benefit we are having for this examination. For this examination now, it was previously for 3 hours. Actually, now it's you have a 4 hours hold for this examination, and that is one benefit which I got from the new exam. Because in the previous exam pattern, people were complaining about that they have to go through all the questions, 125 questions in 3 hours, and it's very hectic. But now it's much more easier, because what happens, the exam is made to 4 hours. Okay, and the second benefit which we have when going for a CCSP is that now like you have, let's suppose we have 150 questions. Out of these 150 questions team, 100 questions is basically where they will give you the score, and 50 questions is basically just for a research purposes, and there is no score for it. Okay, and again, the exam score and everything is unchanged. Okay, and the only thing which is changed from the last exam is the team, the examination weightage. When talking about domain, okay, this domain was actually 19 percentage, now they have made it to 20 percentage, and this was 17, now it's 16. That's all. Okay, that's some major changes, and there are a few topics which is changed in the each and every module or maybe domain in the CCSP examination. My first recommendation for you is that team, whenever you are reading a question, my first recommendation is that do not read the question. Okay, like today also I got a person who passed the exam. This is the exact same strategy I have given for him as well. So the first thing team, do not read the question first, read the answer first. Okay, and read the entire question is the next principle you have to follow. Everyone must be reading the entire question. Maybe some of the question may be distractors, but again, what happens, I want everyone to read the entire question, because what happens if you don't read the entire question, it's gonna give you some wrong answers. You are the cloud data expert for a small sales company. You anticipate a much higher volume of sales activity in the final quarter of each calendar year than other quarters. In order to handle this increased transactions to accommodate the temporary sales personnel you will hire for only the time period, you consider augmenting your internal on-premises production environment with a cloud capability for a specific duration, and will return to operating fully on-premises after the period of the increased activity. Which specific cloud computing capability, which specific cloud computing capability make this possible? This is the question. Team, what do you mean by this? What kind of cloud is this? Is it public cloud? Is it private cloud? Or is it hybrid cloud? Or is it community cloud? It's a hybrid cloud. You have a on-premises, and based on your business demands, you are extending yourself to what? To the cloud service provider. So that is one thing, right? So now this question is not talking about cost. First point you have to keep in mind is that, team, this question is not talking about the cost. Question is talking about how is it able to you know use the cloud platform as per your demand and get it back to normal again. Which capability of cloud computing allows you to increase as per your business requirements and decrease as per your business requirements? Create and remove based on your business requirements. The key capability which makes this possible in the cloud computing is actually what we call as a rapid elasticity. So Krish, I was expecting something called as a scalability there. So team, there is a very important point which we have to always keep in mind. When you write a CCSP examination, this is a very important point. So we have something called as a scalability, right? So what is a scalability? The ability of IT resource to increase or decrease as per your changing business demand. That's what we call as a scalability, right? Now, how do you get the scalability, team, or how is scalability possible? Because you have what? Scalability is possible because the cloud is elastic. And how is the cloud elastic? How is the cloud elastic? Anyone, team? So the cloud is scalable because the cloud is elastic. And why the cloud is elastic, team? The cloud is elastic because they have a virtualization. Definitely we have a resource pooling. But again, on the resource pool, how is it able to create and remove things properly? Because we use a technology called as virtualization. So as you have a virtualization, the cloud becomes elastic. And because the cloud is elastic, it is scalable. So now, before we go to the next question, you may have a query. So Krish, what is the difference between elasticity and scalability? Now, I'm going to a cloud platform. Let's make it a simple way. I'm going to a cloud platform like Amazon or Azure or GCP or any cloud platform. You can create things in a matter of seconds. You can delete things in a matter of seconds. You can modify it. You can update it. You can do whatever you want in a very short time span, right? Without worrying about the cost, without worrying about the capability, you're able to deploy things in a matter of seconds and remove things in a matter of seconds. How is it possible, team? Because the cloud is elastic. Now, scalability is a capability of elasticity. Don't forget, team, scalability is a capability of elasticity. And what do you mean by the team? When we say scalability is a capability of elasticity, it means that, so you have a scalability here. Okay. Now, because the cloud is elastic, it is able to modify, or it is able to, increase or decrease as per your business demands, right? How is it possible? Because it is scalable. So this is basically from a business requirement basis, or basically load perspective, load or requirement perspective. This is from a generic perspective. That's it. So scalability is a capability or feature of elasticity. Okay, that's it. So the answer is rapid elasticity. Okay, and just one more tip, team. Not in the exam, but while you're learning something. Okay, not now, but while you're learning this examination, more than if you're finding the answer, if you are able to understand why the other options are not the answers, will give you more confidence when you prepare for the examination. Okay, that's it. Now, be specific to the points. Okay, that's it. Now, answer this team. An old data center of a hosting service provider experienced a massive fire event which damaged almost one quarter of the infrastructure. Which, while the organization investigated the reason of the fire event and how it made this much damage before successful detection and suppression, they discovered that although the fire produced extreme heat and burn of pollution, the fire alarms and suppression systems response were sluggish. On what type of a single specific fire detection system were the old data center dependent on? Okay, an old data center of a hosting provider experienced a fire event, and the organization is now investigating the reason for the fire. Okay, now the question talking about, see, there is a very important point of elimination here. Question talking about on what type of single specific fire detection systems. That means they were using only one type of fire detection system. So, which of the following is fire detection systems? Definitely, heat is a fire detection system, smoke is there, flame is there, and motion sensor is a different thing. It's not part of a fire detection, right? So, it's never A. You can eliminate A for sure. So, A is gone. Now we are on the safer side. We only have three choices left. Okay, now the fire has produced extreme temperature. That means the fire has produced heat and the fire has produced burn of pollution. What is burn of pollution, team? Smoke is basically technically called as burn of pollution. So the fire has produced heat and smoke. So even if that fire produced heat and smoke, the alarms were not working. What is the reason for the team? Because they were using something called as a flame detector. Because if you have a flame detector, it's more of a photoelectric kind of thing. So basically what happens, if the flame detector is there and if there is a heat happens or smoke happens, obviously it may not start trigger the alarm. I'll give an example, team. So now you can have a doubt. So Krish, how can the fire cause without a flame? See, like when you basically check the Google videos of electrical equipments and fire, you will first see that will create heat and smoke, and only after some time, or maybe only after some few hours or maybe few minutes of that particular thing, maybe it can basically show visible flames. Okay, so they were saying that they were only using one kind of specific fire detection systems, and because of that reason, what happens, they were using something called as a flame detector. But again, for your understanding, team, no data centers will only rely on that one. Okay, there's an example. Okay, when you basically go for data center design, we never go for only a flame detector. We will go for multiple things like that. Okay, this is how the exam questions may look like. Okay, that's a team, because see, it's not tricky. It's not tricky. You have to first of all completely eliminate your vendor bias process. Not this question I'm talking about, but again, first point is in the exam is that, team, never think about a vendor bias perspective. Point number one. Point number two is that never think about your company's best practices. Point number three, make your mind train to read the entire question once or twice. Read the entire question. Consider every words except, first, worst, least, preferred, most. Those kind of words are basically going to give you the answer properly, team. Yeah. Answer this third one, team. John want to decouple his application architecture from the underlying operating system platforms to allow him to make it more interoperable and portable as possible. Which of the following best meet his requirements? Okay, now team, this is basically very important question. John want to decouple his application from the operating system. The key technology which is used in this for the last few years for decoupling your application and the underlying operating system. That means to avoid creating a platform dependency or to avoid getting a dependency on the operating system or platform is basically what we call as a containerization. Okay, and what is the benefit, team? The key benefit of a container is always portability. Don't forget, the key benefit of a container is portability. And team, there is a recommendation I have for you. When you basically talk about containerization, okay, in CCSP examination, I want everyone to be very clear about the concept of VMs, type 1, type 2 hypervisor, the security challenges of type 1, type 2 hypervisor, containerization, the key security challenges of containers. Like, containers have a lot of security challenges. You must be aware of the concept of that, like what exactly is the key challenges which we have for the containers. Okay, that's it. So the answer is use containerization technology to host the application. When you go for a container, what is the benefit you get, team? It will become more portable, right? Like, for example, let's suppose that you have a cloud service provider called as AWS. So tomorrow, if you want to move to Azure, or maybe tomorrow, if you want to go to GCP or some other cloud vendor, you're fine, because at the end of the day, if you are able to get that platform you need, or maybe if you're able to get the containerization platform, then you can work anywhere you want. Okay, that's it. That's why the answer is D. Use containerization technology to host the application. Next one, team. Sam is preparing for his organization's migration to cloud. He is concerned about that issues may arise during the change and would like to ensure that they can revert to their on-premises environment in case of an issue. What specific factor is a major concern? So, Tim, question is never talking about resiliency. See, that is about the infrastructure. We are talking about moving. We are talking about the issue with the movement. Normally, it's portability, right? So something similar to that. Question is not talking about resiliency for sure, because that is up to the John's capacity, I mean, Sam's company's capacity. How much is basically they can tolerate, they can do it or not, whatever it is. But understand the question focus, team. Understand what is the question focusing on. So, team, in this question, okay, this is a new word which you will see in the new exam curriculum. Okay, this is a word which you see in the new exam curriculum called as reversibility. What is reversibility, team? In fact, there is a lot of meanings for the word called as reversibility. Now, I will tell you multiple perspectives. Definitely the answer is reversibility for sure, but I'll give you the perspectives for it. So now let's suppose that I am currently working in my on premises. Okay. So due to some reason, I am just moving to cloud platform. And now, what the lot of companies, what I see is that when they move to cloud platform without a proper planning or without understanding the cloud readiness of the company or the posture of the company, they will face a lot of challenges. Like, they will face a lot of challenges like cost issues, security challenges, business continuity. Like this, they will face many challenges when they go to the cloud platform. So because of that reason, to address all of these things, okay, they have to plan properly. But because of that, just in case if they have not done any planning properly, so they want to come back to on premises. So some companies will say, okay, let's undo that operation and we want to come back to on premises. We are done with the cloud platform. Means there are so many companies like that. Okay, so what we will do is that, team, that process of returning is also what we call as a reversibility. Okay, that is one aspect of reversibility. I will give you another aspect of reversibility. Let's suppose that we have a cloud service provider here. Okay, we have a cloud service provider here. So, team, what you will do if you want to basically, or if you feel that this cloud provider is not giving you value, you will move to another provider, right? And that is what we call as a portability, right? You want to move from A to B because of some reason. But what happens is that, team, when you say you want to move from A to B, there are some questions we have. It's not easy. Question number one. Once we decided to move to from A to B, once we decide to move from AWS to Azure, or maybe a cloud service A provider A to cloud service provider B, how much time it will take? How much time it will take me to move from A to B, or basically, within what time I can move from A to B? How within what time the provider A will allow me to move to B? Okay. Then within what time the cloud service provider will remove all my data from their infrastructure? within what time the CSP will remove all the data of the customer from their infrastructure, within what time all the agreements and everything get cancelled and all the information regarding that customer will be completely erased. So you need a clarity on all these things, right? This is also talking about reversibility. So reversibility is not only just coming back, it's also about making sure that you make sure all your existing data in one provider is completely removed and you can basically move within a particular time once you decide to move. That's what we call as a reversibility. So you can expect a question in the examination based on this team. This is very important, really. Okay, you can always expect question on this reversibility in the exam, especially the word called as reversibility, then portability, interoperability. These words, team, I'll show you some words here, because what I see is that these words are very important nowadays in the modern cloud infrastructure. That's why I expect in the exam also, especially SLA is most important, reversibility, then availability, interoperability, portability, then governance. These kind of things are most important in the cloud team. So please make sure you're well aware of that particular concepts. Okay, that's it. John has documented a software testing user story that states, as an attacker, I can upload malicious software as a part of my form submission, which will exploit the parsing software that reads user submissions. What type of testing is John preparing for? The answer for this is actually A, abuse case testing. I'll tell you what is a team. So when you talk about the word either misuse or abuse, actually abuse is we can say as a subset of misuse. Like for example, now when we do a testing of an application, okay, when we do a testing of an application, what is the thing you're testing? You're testing based on various use cases, right? You're testing based on various use cases. So like for example, okay, is the application functionality working? If I enter the username and password, is it possible for me to log in? When I'm clicking on a particular button, is it working as expected? So there is a predefined set of things we have defined about how to do a testing. In between, I will ask you one query, team. So in which phase of the cloud, or in which phase of the SDLC model, okay, in which phase of the SDLC model we define the test cases? It's a design phase. It's a design phase. Don't forget, it's a design phase. Just telling you, team. That's the most important for the exam. Okay, coming back to the abuse thing. So now you are having a predefined set of things you are supposed to test. Functional, non-functional, whatever you want, you can test. But at the same time, we are trying to test something which is opposite to what we are expecting or what we are supposed to do. Okay, it is not only functional, but again, what we do, we will try to do some usability things. Okay, this particular column is supposed to be accepting this kind of values only. So what if I enter some other values? So this particular application is supposed to do or accept queries from multiple customers. So what if I make some thousands of requests to the application simultaneously? I'll give you one very common example for abuse and misuse case, team. For example, team, let's suppose that you have a shopping site. This is your shopping site. Okay, we have a shopping site. So when you say have shopping site, what we'll do is the team, have you seen an option there called as add to cart? You are basically making it to your purchase list, right? You're adding that particular products to your purchase list. So let's suppose that there is an application here we have. Whenever a user click on add to cart, let's suppose that there is 100 products. Okay, there is 100 products in stock. Okay, 100 products we have in stock. So when a customer click on add to cart, what will happen? They will basically make that particular 100 product list into 99, because what happens, one product is made in cart. Okay, when the customer add one particular product to a cart, what will happen is that from 100 they will reduce it to 99. So this is the use case. Now what happens is the team, let's suppose there is an attacker. What he will do is that he will add 100 products to his cart. He will basically put 100 and he will basically make all of them to the cart. So team, what will happen if the malicious user will add all those 100 things to the cart? So the product will show to other customers as what? out of stock, right? When Krish is basically making all those 100 products to my cart, when you check that particular shopping site, what will happen? It will show you out of stock. Okay, so how do I mitigate this, team? Tell me, how do I mitigate this? We can mitigate this by this way. Even if we add a product to the cart, only after the user click on checkout, that list will be reduced, or that user will be basically having a value, that particular inventory will basically get detected. That is an example for abuse case testing. The next one, Team's organization is working on a tool that captures a system and network behavioral baseline, then analyze and monitors for changes from that baseline that may indicate compromises. The tool uses the data it captures to update its model and to become more accurate in its detections. What type of tool? Maybe a team depending on. So team, first point is that we are talking about baselines. This tool will capture the system and network baselines. It's not about threat detection. So it's not A and C. Why? Because question talking about a tool which can basically understand your system and network baselines, not only the log files. So what basically happens, team, this particular tool is basically completely using or is getting the system and network baselines, not log files. It can contain log files also maybe. But again, what happens, team, and they will analyze the log files to see any compromises there. So SIM can do it, but again, SIM is not basically for a, can collect from baselines, right? They collect from log files, so it's not SIM. They use models. So models are basically used in machine learning, right? Like what is a model in machine learning? When you say model, it means that, like, for example, let's suppose that so Krish means I'm now talking about, I'm just now deploying a solution. So when you say a model in AI or machine learning, it's like, it's like a file, or it's like an algorithm which is trained to do a particular kind of activity, right? So basically what happens, team? So because of that reason, the answer is B, artificial intelligence. Definitely AI is a tool. AI is a tool. It's a technology. We also call it as a tool. The next one, Infobank authorities has been notified by their partners and customers that as a spurious or bogus subdomain of its legally owned domain is circulating misleading and fraudulent transactions which steals money from users. What is most likely the specific attack that led to the appearance of a spurious subdomain? So team, I'll give an example for this. Like for example, now let's suppose that I want to buy a domain name, right? So how do I purchase a domain name? Like I will go to, like, maybe godaddy.com, or maybe hostgator.com, or maybe namecheap.com. There is a lot of websites. So I go to them, I purchase the domain name, and once I purchase the domain name, I can basically host a website using that. Like I can basically have a record set there. We can have a records like A record, NS record, SOA record. We can make DNS records and we can host it. No problem. Perfect. But the thing is that, team, there is one point we have to specifically keep in mind. People are focusing on securing their domain. Okay. The biggest mistake is that people are focusing on securing their domain, but you also has to secure very effectively your domain register account, like GoDaddy account or maybe HostGator account, etc. So what happens, team, when you want to secure your GoDaddy account or maybe all these things, if you don't do it, what will happen, team? That means that let's suppose that there is a company called as infobank.com. Okay, and they are using the domain which is purchased from a website called as GoDaddy.com. So what I will do is that, if as an attacker, if I am able to log into their domain, or log into their domain hosting provider's website, what will happen, team? Silently, without touching this domain, without distracting or without touching this domain, I will make a subdomain there, like for example offers dot, or maybe money dot, something like that. I will basically make a subdomain like this. So what happens? I will attract people to give these offers. Okay, like for example, now there is a bank. Okay, there is a bank. So now they are giving some, they are giving some, they are just telling you loans.bank.somethingbank.com. So what happens? So you will trust it because that you see this domain, right? So what happens? They will use this domain to, confuse people or mislead people for certain things, and that can lead to massive challenges. That's what we basically what we call as a DNS shadowing. Not touching the actual domain name, let them doing it, okay? But again, what happens, team? DNS shadowing is basically where you create a subdomains and all. So when you say DNS spoofing is basically yes, but again, that also can be done by the attacker if they want. It's a different thing actually. Okay, it's a different thing. We can say this is a spoofing, but again, it's not completely, because we are compromising the provider itself, providers, or the your username and password, the providers, or maybe the domain register website itself. That's why. Okay, the answer is DNS shadowing. You are the cloud security manager. Okay, you are the cloud security manager for an organization which is planning to migrate from your on-premise data center to the cloud platform. You are reviewing the Cloud Security Alliance Cloud Control Metrics as tool for your organization. Which of the following benefits will the CSS CCM or Cloud Control Metrics offer you to the or offer you for your organization? Okay, you are the cloud security manager for an organization and you're using CCM. What is the benefit you get from CCM, team? This is a really interesting tool. You know why? Because now in the exam, or basically in many cases, I am seeing this CCM a lot. See, I'll give an example. Now, we have something called as a ISO 27001. Now, you have many things like ISML, ISO standards, NEST, then you have a lot of things are there, right? So my question is this specifically designed for the cloud platform? Is it designed for the cloud platform, team? No. This is designed generically for a long time before the cloud was also there, right? Even before the cloud, this was there. And this is used by many companies like ISO standards, NIST standards. These are basically used by many organizations for a long time. And this is adopted. Now what happens when a company is moving to cloud platform, they want to stick on to this for their security, for their privacy, for their compliance, for their quality assurance. They want to stick on to these kind of things. But the problem they are facing is that these standards are not specific to the cloud platform. But when you go to the CCM or cloud control metrics, the major benefit you're getting is that they will tell you what all things can be mapped from certain of your existing standards to the cloud platform and what is missing in this particular thing. Like for example, okay, now ISO 27000 covers a specific things plus what is missing on the security part specific to the cloud platform. So basically what happens, team, this document can help you to map your existing compliance with the cloud platform, plus they can basically also help you to identify your compliance gaps. Okay, in fact, that's a very important topic we can discuss for a whole day. It's a really interesting thing, team. So the answer is simplifying regulatory compliance. Okay, now Sam is auditing the financial controls of a banking organization and learns that the financial systems are run on a major IaaS platform. He would like to gain assurance that the platform has appropriate security controls in place to assure the accuracy of his client's financial statements. What action should he take? So, to me, in this question, always keep one point in mind. In a CCSP examination, 101% sure you will get one question on SOC reports. Make sure you are well aware of the SOC reports, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, and type 1 and 2. You have to clearly have an understanding of it because it's a assured exam question. Till now, every student who have basically, you know, uh, wrote the exam told me, give me feedbacks that, they have got something on SOC reports. So you must be well aware of it. So team, this question is talking about getting an assurance regarding how the organization stores the client's financial statements. And which is the SOC report for the team? The SOC report, which basically is specific to the financial statements. Okay, is basically what we call as a SOC 1 report. Don't forget, team, the SOC 1 report evaluates a service, or basically, evaluates an organization controls that are applicable for internal controls or financial reporting. Like if you go for a SOC 1 report, it's purely talking about how they are handling financial data of the consumers. Like let's suppose that I am an insurance company, I am a banking organization, or I am a claims organization. So I am handling a lot of financial data. So what basically happens for a company like me, when I'm going to a cloud service provider, I need to have an assurance that they are having the proper security controls and they are having the proper governance model there, and SOC 1 is the report which we have to use for that. Okay, the answer is B, SOC 1. Let's go to one more question, team. A customer has shown interest to adopt the open application programming interface platform provided by a CSP. The customer want to be sure that the CSP has developed a secure platform. What is the most crucial aspect that the customer should check from the CSP? Okay, now API is a major topic in the examination, because when talking about the CCSP exam perspective, they will definitely ask you, because what happens now, the whole cloud is running on APIs, right? You are communicating to the cloud platform with the help of APIs. So obviously it is a mandatory topic for you, right? So I'll give an example. Now let's suppose that, so team, I am developing an application. Okay, I have an application here. I have a specific technology application here. So now you're asking me for this application. You want this application functionality in your website. So I will give you an API. I'll give you my API. Team, by reviewing this API, can you assess my application completely? Or I'm giving you an API. So do you have any guarantee about the security of the underlying application by only seeing the API? No, right? Because API is just a reference point. It's like just referring to that particular application, right? So what happens that, team, when you use an insecure API in your website, it can lead to challenges for your company. So how do I ensure that my application or API is an application tested, team? So it's always mandatory that we have to make sure that the APIs are tested by third party. So basically the CSP has to give you a report that the APIs are audited and tested and verified by the proper third parties, because there is no point, uh, that they tested will give you a report, but there must be third party or unbiased third party who must review the APIs and give you reports. And team, definitely B also can be the answer. But again, what is the question says? Most critical aspect. B is basically a continuous monitoring aspect. That's basically after they have to completely implement it. So that's why the answer is C. Got it, team? See, now the new exam has changed a lot. I hope you basically got the idea on this, team. Okay. So I hope the session was informative for you, team.